Y'all being here. It means a lot to me when y'all show up. Sorry about that no light Gaga ball game, but hey, y'all made the best of it. Y'all had some fun out there. Jonathan, way to win 2 games back to back. Our Chick-fil-A gift card winner there. But I want to do more things like that, guys. We also got a fire pit for y'all. Hopefully we could set up some lights so we can go out there, just make some s'mores, have a good time, especially with the weather changing right now. It's getting a little chillier. Feels great. So today we're going to be continuing with the series 40 for 40, and I titled it Blessings in Disguise. And the reason I titled it that is as I was going through the story of Joseph, it reminded me of my college life. And so I want to share that with y'all. If y'all didn't know, I went to Louisiana Tech. How about them dogs? Go Bulldogs. And so not a lot of people know that. So when I say I went to Tech, people are like, oh, Texas Tech. And I'm like, no, the other Tech. And it's Louisiana Tech. Yeah, not a lot of people know about Louisiana Tech, but I went out there. It's in a small town called Ruston, Louisiana, and there was nothing out there. It was basically a college town. In the summer, it was a ghost town, and I stayed out there with my friends, and seriously, what we would do for fun, it was like go to Walmart. That was the fun thing to do out there is Walmart trips, believe it or not. But the reason I want to share about my experience in Louisiana was there's a lot of things I experienced out there that I would not wish upon anyone. At Louisiana Tech was the first time I ever experienced racism in a way I've never experienced it before. I remember my first week of being in this small town. My goal was to find a barber. I needed to find a barber shop, make sure he knew or she knew how to cut hair very well. Because when I was living in Dallas, I would get a haircut every 2 weeks. Gentlemen, anyone understand about that? Getting a haircut often, right? So I would get a haircut every 2 weeks. So my first thing was to find a barber out there. And I walk into the barber shop in downtown Ruston, and this sweet old lady is cutting a guy's hair. And I walk up to her and I say, hey, ma'am, look, I just need a simple haircut. I just need a 2 all around. And she looks at me and she goes, I can't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I could walk you through it. It's really simple. You just put the number 2 on the clipper and it's all around. That's it. And she goes, I don't cut your kind's hair. And I looked at her. I was like, oh, is it because you don't know how to do that hairstyle? You know, it looks like you're just using scissors. And she goes, no, I don't cut colored people's hair. And I remember getting that experience and just being so shocked. I just looked at her and I was like, have a blessed day. You know, I wanted to say something else, but the Lord didn't allow me to. So I walk out and there's this guy just sitting against this cement thing, and he looks at me and goes, hey. She wouldn't cut your hair, huh? And I was like, no, man, she wouldn't. And he goes, all right, this is what you need to do. You're going to go down this street, take a right, then take a left. Once you see the airplane, just do a 180, and there should be a house right there, and there's a little sign that says open. And I was like, all right. And then so I follow the direction. As soon as I get to the plane, I do a 180, and there's a house right there. And that house, there was a little sign on the window that said open. As soon as I walk in, I sit down, and there's this African-American man, and he looks at me and goes, oh, what's up, man? How you doing? I was like, hey, man, look, I just experienced some racism. I've never experienced that here in my life. And so I just need a haircut. I'm in shock. And he's like, man, I got you. And that guy ended up being my barber for the next 2 years. And let me tell you something. He was not that great at cutting hair. But the reason I stayed is because he welcomed me. And there was a reason I had to be there. I ended up sharing the gospel with that man and not even knowing it. Another time was, man, I remember I walked up to my dorm room door, and really big, carved like this, it said, a Mexican lives here forever alone. And my initial thought was, I'm not even Mexican, man. Like, seriously, that was my first thought. I was not even mad that they had carved on my door. It was more, I was bothered that they got it wrong. I was like, I'm not even Mexican. But anyways, the janitor saw the pain in my eyes when I saw that, and they said, hey, son, don't worry. I'm going to make sure I sand that out. And they have carved so deep, they seriously sat there for 3 hours just sanding it down. And I couldn't believe it. What God was doing, he was doing something there. I could easily look at those times and say, man, at Louisiana Tech, it was the worst time of my life because of the racism I experienced, the pain I felt there. But guys, that's not what happened. The way I look at it is, the Lord had placed awesome people in my life during those times that showed me grace and love, unconditional love. At times where I could not see it, the Lord had placed people in my life to do those things. And so I want to challenge you today as we go through the story of Joseph that you see 3 points. The first one is this. What one tends to use for evil, God can use it for good. Second point I would like you to see is do not fight evil with evil, but fight evil with good. And the last point is this, that God's providence secures God's promise. As we start this story, you're going to see a few things happen here. Is God's reversing the curse. If y'all have been showing up with us through this series, you've seen us as human beings constantly making mistakes. Mankind is broken from God, right? And God had to do something where, hey, I have to cause this separation. But he didn't leave us there, right? He made us a promise that he said, hey, I will not leave you and I will not forsake you. So through this story, you're going to see the unraveling of violence through forgiveness, the unrighteousness through righteousness, and then hunger through wisdom. So let's start. We're going to start off just talking about Joseph. Who is Joseph? Last week we talked about Jacob, right? Jacob is Joseph's father, okay? And Jacob had 12 kids, 12 boys. That's a lot, right? And Joseph was one of the youngest. He was the 11th out of the 12. And so the thing was, Joseph was a real righteous guy. He did what his father would tell him to do, even to the point where they were all shepherds. And Joseph saw his brothers messing up. So some of y'all have experienced this. You have a little brother or sister, and you do something that you're not supposed to be doing. Here goes your little brother and sister running to mommy and daddy. Mommy, daddy, da-da-da is doing this, right? Y'all have experienced that. Or maybe you were that brother or sister, the little brother or sister. You saw your older relative do something they're not supposed to, so you run to mommy and daddy and tell them what's going on, right? So Joseph was that kid. And it wasn't Joseph being, oh, I'm going to go snitch on my brother and sister. No, it wasn't that. Or I'm going to go snitch on my family members. It was more, hey, they're doing the unrighteous thing. They're not being righteous. They're not doing as our Father commanded us. And so out of that, out of spite and jealousy, hatred grew within his brothers. And they decided to sell him to the Ishmaelites. Just think about that, y'all. You're so angry with your relative that you sell him. And this is the thing. I wanted to know how much they sold him for, because I was like, yo, if I'm going to sell my brother or sister, I'm going to be a millionaire, right? If I'm going to sell him, I'm going to make my money, right? They sold him for 20 shekels. 20 shekels now is less than $6. Less than $6. There's a reason I'm telling you this, because as the story goes on, things happen, right? Joseph could be thinking this is the worst time of his life because his brothers then even fake his death. They took his garment. What they did is they killed an animal, put that blood, and then showed it to the father and said, Joseph's dead. Like, he got mauled by an animal. He's dead. He's gone. Joseph, as he gets to Egypt, the Ishmaelites actually sell him to Potiphar. And Potiphar, he was Pharaoh's officer. So he was the captain of the bodyguards. And so Joseph just went being the little brother that went and told on his older brothers, and now his brothers sold him, and now he's in Egypt as a slave. Can you imagine that for less than $6? But the story doesn't end there, all right? This is the thing, that the Lord's providence secures God's promise. And you can see it in this. Joseph, then he becomes Potiphar's, he gains Potiphar's full trust and becomes his personal assistant. So once again, you got to remember, Potiphar, who is he? He's Pharaoh's officer. He's the captain of the bodyguards. And he becomes the captain of the bodyguard's personal assistant. For those that watch The Office, the assistant to the regional manager, basically right here. And so what happens from here? The evil one comes and attacks. And let me tell you how he does it here. Potiphar has a wife. Wife sees good-looking Joseph and says, I want you. What does Joseph do? No. She says, no, I want you, and grabs him by the garment. Gentlemen, listen to what Joseph does. You think Joseph leaned in to his boss's wife? No. Joseph flees. He literally runs, leaves his garment, and just takes off. Runs. Because he knows it's not the righteous thing to do. In the face of temptation, Joseph runs. And what happens after that? Old girl decides to lie and makes a commotion and calls the bodyguards and says, that man over there tried to touch me, tried to do things to me, so I screamed and he ran. That's why his garment is here. Dang. So just imagine that. She just lies, tells all the guards. Now the guards, I bet you they're mad. She tells her husband, the Pharaoh's main guard, the captain of the bodyguards. So what does he do? He throws Joseph in jail. So this is Joseph right here, right? Bam, goes down. Oh, look, my life's going good. Bam, back down, right? So what happens from here? Joseph knows that the Lord won't leave him. And he knows that the Lord will keep his promise. And so what happens here? This led him to becoming the second most powerful man in Egypt. So Joseph has a gift, and his gift is he can interpret dreams. So those dreams that you don't understand, I bet you've had those. You're like, yo, man, what did that mean? You know, I swear I saw flying pigs and a unicorn, and what did that dream mean? It was a crazy one. So just imagine that. These people are having crazy dreams, and one of them is the Pharaoh, the most powerful man of Egypt. He has this dream, and he doesn't know how to interpret this dream. And he hears about Joseph, so he calls Joseph out of jail. And he makes Joseph the second in command of Egypt. Joseph just went from being a slave to one of the most powerful men in the world. And you want to tell me God won't come through? Man. So this leads me to the first point. I'm sorry, I know. What one can tend to use for evil, God can use it for good. Let's look at it. Being sold in Egypt, he became a personal assistant. Then he was thrown in jail. He interprets dreams which lead him to be the second most powerful man of Egypt. And then, even if we were to look at Genesis 50:20, it says this. not up there, okay. That what people tend to use for evil, God can use it for good. And so I want you to think about that, because this is what Joseph is telling his brothers. Because his brothers end up, so the world goes into famine, and the only place you could get food is Egypt. So his brothers, what they do, they're like, all right, we need to go to Egypt. They get to Egypt. Guess who they run into? The second most powerful man in the world. So just think about this. I want y'all to think about this. The people that just sold you to slavery for less than $6 show up to your country where now you're the second most powerful person in the world. What do you do? Think about it. What would you do? What Joseph does is this: as for you have meant for evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring out the present result to preserve many lives, people's lives. So he says this after the second time he gives them a chance, but the first time he gives them a chance, what he does is he says, go pick up Dad. Go back and get Dad. Come back here. I'm going to give you a place to stay, and I'm going to give you food. I'm going to feed you. You won't starve, and you'll have shelter. So then they went to go get Jacob. They moved into Egypt, and they were there with Joseph. But Jacob, unfortunately, passed away. His father passes away. And his brothers end up plotting against Joseph. And this time, they know Joseph is the second most powerful man in the world. So what do? They say, all right, we're going to lie, and we're going to tell him that Dad told us that Joseph needs to forgive us. How many of y'all have done that to your brother or sister? Well, Mom said, well, Dad said you need to do this, right? And actually, they didn't say they needed to do that. You just said that because you know as soon as you said Mom or Dad said to do this, is most likely they'll do it. Joseph, he doesn't do that. He doesn't go against the brothers. What he tells them is, what you tend to use for evil, God used it for good. Look how things turned out. Leads me to my second point. Do not fight evil with evil. Fight it with good. Joseph, once again, his brothers try to manipulate the situation, but he showed them grace. Joseph could have easily thrown every single one of them in jail. Even he could have killed them. But once again, showed them grace. And the last thing, y'all, God's providence secures God's promise. God is all-knowing and in all control of everything, that he could use it for his good and for his glory. And God keeps his promises. If you remember, last week I shared that he made a promise, a covenant, with the founding fathers, you could call them, Abraham, Jacob. And what it was is that he will never leave them and forsake them, that he would always be with them. And we could look at Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 4:31 says this: for the Lord your God is a compassionate God. He will not fail you nor destroy you, nor forget the covenant with your fathers which he swore to them. Once again, that's what I was saying with Abraham and Jacob. As it says in Romans 8:28 as well, we must all remember that we all are called according to his purpose. But he will not force you to go into that relationship with him. He's given you an option. He's already written your story, but it's your option if you want to follow it, or if you want to go your own way. And that's basically what Joseph was trying to share with his brothers. Is in the midst of all this, it was a blessing in disguise. So I want you to reevaluate your life. What's going on in your life right now that you feel is just evil? But have you searched for the Lord in it? Because he's been there the whole time. And what good is he doing in it? My story is this. Little did I know the reason the Lord was doing those things in my life at Louisiana Tech. He was molding and preparing me to become a youth pastor. If you would have told me, hey, Vince, at 20, here when you're 27, you're going to be a youth pastor of a church in Carrollton, Texas, I would have said, you're crazy. That's insane. I don't even read the Bible. What do you mean, man? I'd rather be at the bar than reading a Bible. But God changed my heart. What is it going to take for you to start changing that perspective and start looking at the blessings in disguise? Let me pray. Hey, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for these students. Thank you for your word. Thank you for Joseph's story. Thank you for allowing us to be able to relate to Joseph. The fact that at moments where this world tends to do things for evil, you can use it for your good, your glory. So, Lord, may you change our perspective when we start looking at things in life. May we look at it through a Christ-like lens. May we see the good. What are you doing that's molding us to be more like Christ? Lord, I just pray as we go through this week, may we fight evil with good. May we fight it with love. May we fight it with your truth. May we be able to show people grace like Joseph showed others. But most of all, Lord, may we live for you. Pray all this in your loving name. And everyone said, amen. All right. We're good. Let's break up into small groups. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes. So guess what, guys? It got approved. It got approved. Good. So this is how it's going to work out. We're going to do the Ridge Students Friendsgiving 2020. And the way it's going to look like is I'm going to have tables set up, and I'm going to try to do one long table because I want it to feel like a family. And we're going to have volunteers to come and serve y'all. The food's going to be made, obviously, and they're going to come serve you, so you're not going to have to stand up to go get food. I want it to feel like family style. And we're going to have butcher paper on the tables where you could draw your hand and then do a little turkey. And doing that, you'll put a hashtag. You'll put TRS Friendsgiving 2020 on Instagram, and we'll do a contest at the end, probably like a $50 gift card to something. We'll see. But I want y'all to invite friends, okay? That's why it's a Friendsgiving. This will allow friends that honestly don't come to church to just be like, dude, just come get a free meal. And you don't even have to tell them I'm going to share the gospel, because seriously, y'all are just going to be sitting down eating, and I'm just going to be up here talking, because I really wanted to be laid back, just an opportunity for you to connect with friends. And so, hey, I know we've been having small numbers lately, but COVID numbers have been going up. That's unfortunate. But let's see in 2 weeks, let's try to pack this room. You know, if we have 50 to 100 students, let's do it. I believe that it's possible to have that many students. Y'all each invite a friend, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, okay? But y'all just let me know as you know, y'all decide if y'all are going to come. Let me know if your friends are coming, just so I know I have enough food for everyone, okay? Sound good? All right, y'all, let's break up into our small groups. Test. Ladies, y'all will be with the